Test 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Today we're going to teach you from the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12, the last chapter, just in case you know where the Ecclesiastes is. You go to the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms, thank you, Jimmy. You always take care of me, I know that. The book of Psalms, after Psalms you have Proverbs, and the Proverbs you have Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 1. Now, who wrote Ecclesiastes is King Solomon. He wrote also the book of Proverbs, and also the book after that, the Song of Solomon. He was the wisest man ever lived on the face of the earth. Nobody lived before him as wise as he is, or after him. Of course, we're not counting Jesus Christ. But this chapter, he shows how much sense of humor he had. And it's very hard for any preacher or Sunday school teacher to teach or preach that chapter, because you have to have some kind of medical background to decipher what he's talking about in this chapter. So let's see what he said there. And if you have a piece of paper, you want to write what is he's saying there, feel free to do that. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, chapter 12 and verse 1. Remember now. Under the word now, he's not saying remember tomorrow or 10 years from now. He said, remember now thy Creator, your God, in the days of thy youth. When you're young, you better get saved early in your age, because the bad days or the evil days are coming later on when you get older. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. We know all of us, when you get older, you get less pleasure and a lot of stuff that you did not start with. You're healthy and vibrant, and your mind is clear. I don't know who the one who came up with the saying that old age is a golden age. It's not a golden age. It is aluminum, maybe. Golden age, when you are still young, you're still healthy, and you still have your memory and everything. So I don't know, but that's, so he say, you better get saved early in life. Come close relationship to the Lord. Discover the greatness and the glories of God while you're still young, because evil days are coming. What is the evil days are coming? He explained that in verse 2 to 8. So let's start one by one. While the sun, verse 2, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened. Stop. So what he's talking about here? He's talking about weak in your eyesight. Your eyesight become weak. Remember, the anatomy of a human being, you reach your zenith, your top of your maturity and growth when you are 25 years old. After that, the curve goes down. So you start losing things after that. So after 25 years, you reach the top of your growth. So after that, so put beside while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, weakness in eyesight. That's what he's talking about. Nor the clouds return after the rain. When there's a lot of rain, everything very clear. When it is cloudy, you don't see it very well. So what he's talking about? Declining or fading of the mental power or memory. As you get older, you forget things. Do you remember sometimes you say, oh, my mind is cloudy? So that's what he's talking about, that you're not remembering things like you used when you were young. I wouldn't go to the supermarket unless I have a list written in a piece of paper and make sure that I have the paper with me before I leave. If I leave without it, I'll go back and get it. Because if I go without it, what's going to happen? Half of the things I have in the paper, I'll never buy. I don't remember it. How many times do you meet someone that you know very well, and you try to remember the name of that person while you're talking with? You can't. Spend the whole time trying to think. You couldn't. And then after that person leaves, oh yeah, let's remember so-and-so. So you get your memory clouded. So the interpretation of that, nor the clouds return after the rain, means fading or declining of the mental power and memory. Verse 3, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. The house here is talking about our body. The keepers of the house refers to the arms and hands. How do you defend yourself? With arms and hands. When you get older, you start trembling. You cannot defend yourself with your arms and hands. So interpretation of the keepers of the house is the arms and the hands, which we defend ourselves with it. And the strong men shall bow themselves. The strong men here refers to the strongest muscle in your body is what? The thighs, the legs. So when you start getting old, what your legs happen to them? They start trembling. You cannot walk very well. And you say bow. Do you see old people sometimes go like this? Because their muscles in their thighs and legs cannot support them. So the strong man refers to the legs, which are the strongest part of the body, start to shake and tremble. Next one. And the grinders cease because they are few. That's a very funny one. The grinders is your teeth. When you grow older, by the way, Solomon wrote that chapter or that book 1,000 years before Christ. And we have 2,000 years after Christ, that's what, 3,000 years. People at that time don't have any toothbrushes or toothpaste or mouthwash. Could you imagine spend all your life without brushing your teeth? That's what happened. And not only that time, until 200 or 300 years ago, people didn't have any toothbrush or toothpaste or flossing or mouthwash. I was flushing my mouth with Listerine, and it says, it kills 99.9% of germs that cause bad breath, plaque, and gingivitis. They didn't have that. Could you imagine these people spend their lives without washing their mouth or brushing their teeth? How about someone, and he said, by the way, here what it says. He said, and the grinders cease because they are few. Why they are few? If you don't have any hygiene in your mouth, what's going to happen? Some teeth will decay, gingivitis, cavities, some of them broken. So if someone broke his teeth, for example, and he wants to have it extracted, there were no dentists at that time. You know where they go to? To someone who has something like this. You know what it is? Plier. And it's not going to be clean or sanitized anyway, too. And that person will extract that tooth with plier. He has to restrain that person very well. He will run away or jump and open his teeth and get that plier and extract the teeth. Do you think they have anything to numb the teeth or the gum? No, there's nothing. There's no sedation. And he was lucky if he got all the tooth out in one piece. If he broke the tooth and some of them stay in the gum, you know what that man will do to kill it? Get a knife and go through the gum and get the rest of that tooth. No numbness. How about after what he did, all that thing, and then he discovered that he pulled the wrong tooth? He didn't pick up or pull the right tooth, the one was decayed. So thank the Lord. Aren't you glad that we're living in the 21st century? Amen. Just 200 years ago, they didn't have any dentist. Nothing like that. I'm not about 3,000 years ago. Just 200 years ago. Nothing happened. So the meaning, or was referring the grinders sees because they are few, is your teeth. And those that look out of the windows be darkened. What are the windows of our body? The eyes. Why they become darkened? Eye diseases. You have, for instance, cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, any eye problem. They didn't have at that time eyeglasses to see. They don't have even, by the way, the countries in the Middle East where that Bible was written, the sun is out every day and it's very strong. So you got the people working outside because they are farmers or shepherds. They spend the whole day in that glaring sun with the pollution in the air like sand and dust and all of the things floating there, and they cannot protect their eyes. So what's going to happen to them? They're getting eye diseases. So the meaning of the windows, out of the windows be darkened, the windows here means put beside it our eyes or eyes. Verse 4. And the doors shall be shut in the streets. What's it about the doors should be shut in the street? When you get out of your home and you open the door, you hear so much noise outside. When you get in and you close the door, what's happened to the hearing, to the noise? Less noise. So he's talking about what? That your weakness in hearing. You start have weakness in hearing. Now at that time they don't have any hearing aids. You remember advertising in the TV and the newspaper, they give you the smallest, tiniest hearing aid to stick it in your ear so nobody will see it. They don't have that anymore at that time. So you get hearing weakness, that's it. You cannot hear very well. So the interpretation of the sound of the look out of the windows be darkened, it is what? Weakness. No, I'm sorry, we are in verse 4. And the door shall be shut in the streets. He's talking about weakness and hearing. When the sound of grinding is low, he goes back again to the teeth. Well, if you don't have that many teeth, then you don't have much to grind with. So the sound of grinding is low. Why is he using the word grinding? At that time, and until just a few years ago, 100 or 200 years ago, people ate coarse meal, like grains, nuts. So it's not like now everything is flour and become powdery is easy. So that's why they start grinding like that. So, of course, if you're losing many teeth, the sound of your grinding will be low. So that's talking about what here? Not much teeth to grind. They didn't have at that time teeth implant or dentures. You lose your teeth, that's it. So when the sound of grinding is low, and he shall rise up in the voice of the bird. I notice as I grow older, any sound in the morning wakes me up. I mean, you hear a bird outside of the window and wake up. So that's what is a sign of old age. That anything, very tiny noise, when some of you are not old yet, wait until you get old and you'll find out anyway. So he easily awakened in the morning, a sign of old age. Now the next one is very interesting. And all the daughters of music shall be brought low. I don't like to do that, but this time I want you to the explanation of that, let us go back to 2 Samuel. Nathan, you don't have it, right? Nathan, 2 Samuel chapter 19. Samuel 19. I don't want him to get him back, but do you have it? No? Okay. Okay, Samuel 19. Go back a little bit more and see Samuel 19 and 2 Samuel chapter 19. 2 Samuel 19 and start from verse 32. Second Samuel 19:32. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old. Stop. What does it mean by 80 years old? In the Bible, a score is 20 years. So 80, you multiply 20 by 4 is what? 80 years old. That's a very, very old man at that time. I wonder how did he live up to that age. And he had provided the king of sustenance while he lay at Mahanaim, for he was very great man. Mahanaim, ha. The A here, Mana and Hayim. There is no, in English language, there is no letter to give you that sound ha or cha or da. All that is in Greek, in Hebrew. So they replaced the ha with A. Mark here is going to go to Suriname. And by the way, Suriname is in South America. You said, oh, that's very easy for him. He will know Spanish, no problem. You know what they speak in Suriname in South America? Dutch, Holland. So the poor man is going to learn Dutch, Spanish. South of Suriname is Brazil. He has to learn Portuguese. And he will see some of these pronunciations in their Bible is completely different than ours. So so pray for him, especially when it comes to language. It's very hard. I'll give you an example also. The book of James in the New Testament, James, which is after the book of Hebrews. You know what the name of that book in Spanish, in Myra's Bible? Santiago. Those names in the Bible are not the real names of the people. Those are the names of the people that the British scholars in Britain gave name to these people because they cannot pronounce the real names. So they gave James in English, they gave Santiago in Spanish, and so on. So I don't know about your Bible. When you see it there, let me know what is not of James, what will be. And again, so remember that. That's very hard when you're speaking translation from one language to the other. Things change completely. So 32, and now Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old, and he said 80 years old, and he had provided the king of sustenance while he lay in Mahanaim, for he was very great man. Great man here is not the right translation, is a very rich man. He took care of the king when he was away from Jerusalem, his capital. 33, and the king said unto Barzillai, come thou over with me, and I will feed thee with me in Jerusalem. He's going back again to his throne. And Barzillai said unto the king, how long have I to live, that I should go up with the king into Jerusalem? I am this day 80 years old, 80 years old, and can I discern between good and evil? Can thy servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear, and this is it, can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? Wherefore then should thy servant be yet a burden unto my lord the king? So put beside that is Ecclesiastes 12:4, and go back to Ecclesiastes 10:4, and you will understand now when it says in verse 4 at the end of it. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. By the people who just came back now, we are in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you very much. The end of it. And all the daughters of music shall be brought low, because he has hard of hearing, so he cannot discern or understand or join or enjoy music anymore. And put beside that, all daughters of music shall be brought low, 2 Samuel 19:32 to 35. Verse 5, Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high. The older we get, it's very hard. We become very afraid of what? Height. People will go upstairs. It's no problem. The problem when you go downstairs, that's when the fall's coming. So the older you get, the harder and tougher and afraid to go higher places. So you put this beside that where what one is afraid of high places, of heights. And the next one is really amazing. And the fears shall be in the way. My Bible says fear shall be in the road when you go out. Why the old people at that time and until 200-300 years ago cannot go out? Until that time, until 200 years ago, there were no sewer drains inside the houses, under the house. So all the sewer, all the trash, all the garbage, and people by that time also, they lived with animals in their homes. They grew geese, ducks, chicken, rabbits, sheep, all that animal waste and their human waste. Where are they going to go? They would until at night and throw things out in the street. The streets were not paved, were covered with rocks, sands, mud, whatever. Beside all that waste of everybody's house thrown out of in the street, hoping the rain will come one day and flush it. They don't have any city people come and clean that place and the trash. So could you imagine the situation, there's no sanitation, no hygiene at that time. People didn't live long. So that's how the way it looks like. So the older people, how are they going to navigate? And they don't have any curb to walk on it. Could you imagine that old man going out and go into all that mess? So they're afraid to get out of this. And that's what it says here. They are what? Fear shall be in the way. Fear shall be in the street. And you write there beside it whatever you want to write. I explained it to you already. The next one is really funny, very funny. And the almond tree shall flourish. When the almond tree get flowers, what is the color of the almond tree? White. That means that we get white hair. So our hair turned white. So that right beside that refers to the hair turned white. At that time, they didn't have any hair coloring to color your hair. And I'm talking about men and women. Men also color their hair, just in case you don't know that. So they don't have that hair coloring. You got white hair, you got stuck with it. The other one is even more funnier than that. Look at says after that, and the grasshopper should be a burden. The grasshopper is just like a locust, green, very long, thin, very, very light insect. When you lift it up, it doesn't have any weight. You know what he's saying? That if that grasshopper, which has no weight at all, land in somebody old man's shoulder, it become a burden on him. Exaggeration, but that's how it is. So a grasshopper will be a load, a heavy load in old woman or old man shoulder. Bend it. Try one day. They are already getting out now, so go ahead and try one of them. Put in your shoulder. So that's also a sign of old age. He left the last one, and desire shall fail. Why he left the end? Because the older, very, very older you get, he's talking about here what desire? Sexual desire. That's what he's talking about. So put beside it sexual desire. Because man goeth to his long home. Long is wrong. It should be say, man goeth to his eternal home. Eternal home is what? Either to heaven or eternal condemnation. And the mourners go about the streets. Now, the custom in the Middle East until today, when somebody died, they put the deceased on a carriage drawn by horses, and people go behind them to the cemetery. The cemeteries there are very close to their homes. Now, the carriage is drawn by 2 horses, 4 horses, 2 in front of 2, 6 horses, 2, 2, 2, or 8 horses. So if you are a rich man, what you get? 8 horses. It's vanity. Talking about vanity? Vanity. If you're a poor man, you get only 2 horses. So it depends how much you pay to get that your body go to the cemetery. The mourners usually go behind them, and also always dress in black. They show sign of mourning and grief. It's very important. Did everybody saw a few days ago or weeks ago, when King Philip, Prince Philip, the husband of Elizabeth, died, and they put him in a jeep, and people were walking behind him, dressed all of in black, women and men. That's exactly the way it is there in the Middle East. Until today, they do it that way. So when you say here the mourners go about the street, it means that they are follow the deceased person back to his grave. Now the next verse, you have to have some medical background to understand what he's talking. Or ever the silver cord be loosed. What is the silver cord? The spinal cord, the spine in your back. What the spinal cord protect? The nervous system. The central nervous system is in the brain and the spinal cord. So if you broke your spinal cord, what's going to happen? You get paralyzed from chin down. You can die. So he's talking about the spinal cord. If it's damaged, have a disease, cancer in the bone. So the interpretation of the silver cord is what? The spinal cord. Or the golden ball be broken. What is in your anatomy? It looks like a ball. The head. What is the head? What the head is protected by what? Skull. What is inside the skull? What the skull protects your what? The brain. So talk about the brain here. If you have a brain damage, so right beside the golden ball, the skull protects our brain. Any blow to the head or damage to the brain could lead to brain hemorrhage. I have a close friend of mine, David. I have a close friend of mine, colleague of mine. 10 days ago, his wife called me and said, come see your friend. He had a brain hemorrhage and his brain was full of blood. I went to see him on Monday. I cried. The man was laying on bed. He cannot see, he cannot read, he cannot talk, he cannot say anything, he cannot hear. He's opening his eyes, and very hard for him to respond in anything. That was last Monday. She called me following day, Tuesday, he died. His funeral viewing is tomorrow in Holloway Funeral Home. David, right there, he's taking care of his body. In 10 days, he's gone. So the golden ball, the skull, protects our brain from any blow to the head, could damage the brain, could lead to brain hemorrhage. So that's what the meaning of the golden ball. Or the pitcher be broken at the fountain. You know what the pitcher is? Your heart. It pours. When you have water in the pitcher, what you do? You pour. So what the heart is? Pouring blood through your body. So the pitcher here equal, or it is talking about the heart. What's meant by be broken at the fountain? If you have any blood clot anywhere in your body and goes to your heart, what's going to happen to the heart? Stop. Once you stop, you're dead. I have a friend of mine in our community, 3-4 years ago. He's a bicyclist. He bike. He fell off his bike. He broke 2 ribs. He went to the hospital, and I visited him there. He came out home to the house. 2 weeks later, he died of blood clot in his heart. You know what he did? They did not give him probably blood thinner. So that blood clot moved all the way to his heart, blocked him, and died. So he's talking about here is the pitcher is a heart. And not only that, you can have cardiac diseases, heart diseases, cardiac arrest, heart attack, stroke. All that happen. It will stop the heart. So here, the pitcher be broken at the fountain is talking about what? The heart. Or the wheel broken at the cistern. What is the wheel broken in the cistern? What the wheel does? Circulate water. You know what he's talking about here? The wheel is referred to the circulation of the blood in your body. Is a continual wheel of life which keeps us alive. It can stop any time. How? Hardening of the hearts, arteriosclerosis, degenerations of the veins, blood clot, as I said, all that can lead to what? To death. So the meaning of the wheel broken at the cistern means the circulation of the blood through our body. And amazing. I mean, it's amazing that you have to decipher what he's talking about. That's why I said he has a lot of sense of humor to write it that way. 7. Then shall the dust return to earth as it was. We know, all of us, that when you die, we'll go down to earth as we came. And by the way, I mentioned that before, ladies, you were not created from dust. Men only were created from dust of the earth. You know where you were created from? Bone. And bone naturally is a better quality to create from than dust. So if any one of your husband or friend put you down, tell him you are dust and you're going to dust. I am created from a bone, which is a better quality than what you are coming from. I'm with you, ladies. 7. Then shall the dust return to earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Naturally, if you're saved, you go to heaven. If you're not saved, you go to the lake of fire. And by the way, there's another story I'll let you know later on, another time. So what he said, all what we do in our life, we work, we make money, we buy cars, we buy a house, we do this, we do that. And that's what he said in verse 8. Vanities of vanities, said the preacher. He called himself the preacher, by the way, Solomon. All is vanity. Now, you hear the word vanity all the time. If you read the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, he repeats that word vanity all the time. So what is the meaning of vanity? Excessive pride. Remember the one who died and he had 8 horses to take him to his grave? Or futility, or useless. What we do is useless. We're going to go back again to dust. So vanity means excessive pride, futility, or uselessness. 9. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he's talking about himself, and it's true, he was wise. He was the wisest man ever lived on the face of the earth. As I said before, it was just the people who came in. Nobody was wiser than him or after him. Of course, we're not talking about Jesus. So he called himself the preacher. 9. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge, yea, he gave good heed, and sought out and set in order many proverbs. And if you want to really to be blessed and know how to live and how things could be done, if you don't live very well, read the book of Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes. It has a great... Who wrote it? The wisest man on earth. So what you need more than that? You read the 2 books and you get so much treasures out of them. 10. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. What are the words of truth we have? This book we're reading from. This is the only truth, nothing else. So the Bible is your truth. Verse 11 is very interesting too. The words of the wise, the words of this Bible, the word of this book are as goads. What goads means? Goads is not goats, it's goads. What's the goad? It is a sharp object, animal prod, which the cowboys fasten in the back of their boots, very sharp. When they're riding horses, they kick the horse with that thing, which is making a little bit painful, to prod them to move, to go. So the Word of God is like goads. When you read it, it does make us what? Prod us to move, to do things, to obey the Lord. Not only that, it's not only goads. And as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. Who is one shepherd? Our Lord Jesus Christ. What's meant by nail? When you want to hang something in the wall, you use a nail to hang it, to fasten it. So he said the nail in the scriptures is also like a nail, an anchor that you can hang on it and hold fast during time of danger or temptation or stress or anything that goes to through your life which is not really pleasant. So it is like a nail, you hang yourself on it, the Bible, the Word of God. And given from one shepherd. The whole book was written by one person, Jesus Christ, God himself, through his prophets. We know that. One shepherd. By the way, every word in the Bible, and I repeat that every time I talk to you, every word in the Bible has a meaning and has a reason to be there. God is not going to write something. He's not going to write something that doesn't make any sense or is not important. And when I read, and I don't read the Bible, I study the Bible. Means when I read the Bible, I stop and think and say what that means. One shepherd. Why one shepherd? Because the whole book was written by God himself through his prophets. 12. And further, by this, my son, be admonished, of making many books there no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. It's not about when you're young, you go to college, you go to school, and you read a lot of books, and you become tired, you drink coffee and tea to wake you up and make you... So he's talking about that. But the most important book in your life is what? The Bible. Unless you have to read other books to explain to you, like I have books in the old history, old maps. So if I want to know where that place is, I go to the maps and take a look. And how do I know all these customs? Of course, I came from there, but also reading the old civilizations and know exactly what happened at that time. So you'll understand more what is written in this book. If you come to my class, I have most of the walls are covered with maps of Middle East and places like that. And when we study any place or any location, I point it to the people in my class. Where is it? So they can connect what is written in the Bible with what it says or what they're looking at. Next verse. And then what he said. Of course, you have to read the book of Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes to reach to that conclusion of what this wisest man on earth said. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter of what read the two books. Written the two books. Fear God. Now the problem with the word fear God, many people think that fear means you get afraid of the Lord. You're scared of him. That's not the right meaning of fear God. Fear God means have faith in God's existence, experience his grace, his mercy, his love, his forgiveness. I underline that word forgiveness. I mean, without his forgiveness, no one of us will be alive today. Let's face it. And resolve to obey him. That's what fear God means. And I'm going to repeat it again. Fear of God. Have faith in God's existence. Experience his grace, his mercy, his love, his forgiveness, and resolve to obey him. That's what fear God means. So let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Now there's a problem here. Did you notice the word duty was written in a different kind of font or printing? Because it did not exist in the original. Anytime you see a word in the Bible which is not exactly the same way the print of the other words, this means that is added in English to make most of the time, the sentence clear or understandable. Here it did not. You know what it's supposed to say? For this is the wholeness of man. How you become wholeness of man? By what? By obeying the Lord, be in His Spirit, be controlled, balanced. So the word wholeness here means complete. If you want to be complete in the Lord, you have to be in the Spirit, read the Bible, come to church, and pray, and all that stuff that Pastor always talk about. So it is for this is the wholeness of man. Remember I told you the meaning of fear of God and keep His commandments? That's make you whole. That's the wholeness of man. 14. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, where it will be good. Oh yeah, let us slow down. 14. For God shall bring every work into judgment. And you see what he said, with every secret thing. You know what it makes us commit sin more than anything else? Our thoughts, our mind. Maybe Christians don't do it practical, but our thinking and our thoughts brought us punishment and chastisement of the Lord, because sometimes we do not think in the right things. And that's what he said. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing. Why he choose secret thing, nothing else? Because that's what gets us in trouble more than anything else. Whether it be good or whether to be evil. So that is the meaning of that chapter. It is very hard to decipher everything in it, and it took me some time to study it and study it and study it to get all this stuff. So I hope you wrote all this meaning of those words and all those verses in this book. Thank you very much. Happy, by the ladies, happy Mother's Day. Enjoy it. And the ones who will be a mother also enjoy it when you get your kids. Thank you. Have a good day.